Hello everyone, I'm now about to boot monkey see monkey do Linux from the ISO under the QEMU. So this is the custom Linux distribution that I've been compiling during the tutorial series here on YouTube. And this video, we are going to download, install and configure the Xserver and the window manager. So just to give an idea, what does this system look like at the moment? So if we just go to the root, so here is the root folder. We only have BusyBox here, so if I list the bin folder, for instance, only the symlinks to the BusyBox like applets. We also have LDD to check for the dynamic dependencies. And the install packages is the custom script that we will run now. We have some libraries here. So if I just show the lib folder, so mostly we like apart from the glibc, we have some libraries that I've grabbed, to be honest, from TinyCon because the packages that we can download from TinyCon are not going to work without this sort of libraries here. So those are quite essential. And also, it's not yet installed, but after we run the install packages, there would be another script installed, which is called DIPI or DIPI. That's the distribution independent package installer that I've written during the previous video in this series. So essentially what that thing does, it fetches the packages from TinyCon repository and recursively resolves the dependencies, and then it copies everything to user local folder, like a user local bin, sbin, lib, share, and whatever folders would be there under the package. The package for the TinyCon itself is the TCZ extension, but essentially that's the squash file system that you can mount to some point and then just copy files from there, and then you unmount. So that's essentially what the DIPI or DIPI package installer does. So first, let me demonstrate so if I just say VI and want to show you the install packages script that we will now run. So essentially what it does, it downloads the DIPI, which is the distribution independent package installer, which I've just been mentioning. It unzips it and it then copies the binary executable. It's not a binary executable, that's the shell script, executable shell script called DIPI to user bin DIPI. And then I'm about to be installing some packages. Well, even can install Python 3, but we're not going to install Python 3 for now. Let's just probably, maybe I should remove this. Maybe, well, I don't know. So essentially what it does, it sets up, apart from doing the download and installation, it also creates the required directories for the CA certificates and runs the update CA certificate that's needed to for Git to work, because we are supposed to be relying on Git to download things from GitHub for the further installation. So hopefully that makes sense. And also it just resets the fdisk that's needed when you want to install monkey see monkey do Linux to the real hardware. Then fdisk, the BusyBox fdisk is not fine with creating the GPT partition, so I'm using this normal fdisk that does load to create GPT partitions. That has been covered early in the videos within the series, so now it's not the case. So essentially what we will do now by installing this script, we'll just download and install DIPI, and then we'll loop over the packages within the as packages list, this list here, and then we'll install all the packages. So now let me quickly show you what is within that list. I can probably just cat, so add and packages. So here we have the util Linux, E2FS proxy, certificate CURL, and Git. So the first two are just essential for the installation purpose. We're not going to be installing anything now. So the CURL and Git are those that we're interested in. So I can now just run install packages. It's visible system-wide. Okay, nothing happens because we first need to connect to the internet. So since we are in the QEMU, that is going to be the Ethernet connection. So there is command called Ethernet. I can quickly show you that command as well. So if I say vi and bin and ethernet, it's not there. Oh, it's an asbin ethernet. So simply loops over the devices under the sys class net, sets the device up and calls the network shell, adds network shell callback script to dynamically to assign the IP address that has been received dynamically from the UDHC PC. So just quit from here and I just do ethernet. So I'm just showing those scripts that I've written on my own that are specific to this particular distribution. So we've just obtained the IP address, which is always the same when you're running things under the QEMU. Okay, just now if we do if config, for instance, that we have like Auth0 interface being set up and the IP address is there. So from now on, we can actually download things from internet. So install packages, and we first downloading the DiPi, and then DiPi does download the rest of the packages. I want to quickly show you the code for the DiPi, which is quite an elegant small thing, but it would resolve tons of dependencies, really a hell lot of dependencies during the installation of the Xserver, and so it has been tested heavily already. And when I just reading it, I wasn't really thinking that it would be that robust and like reliable, because yeah, it's so tiny. It's very tiny piece of code. So yeah, let me just quickly show you. So if I do vi and it's under the user bin and DiPi. So this is the entire script, believe it or not. So two functions, fetch and install, and that's it. So what we do, we just first we fetch, and then the name of the package is specified, and then we just install. So within the fetch, what we do here, so if there is nothing as the no command line argument is specified in this case, it just resets and prints the usage. Otherwise, we are creating the directory, the download directory under the temp folder. If the package is already installed, we do not do anything. Well, that's because the same package might be the dependency for a few other packages, so it would just be downloaded and installed once, obviously. And if there is a new package, then we download the tcz file, the dependency file, and the MD5 checksum file. We check for the checksum, and then we just loop over the dependencies, fetch from the dependency file, and we recursively call fetch to recursively get the dependencies. It's that simple, believe it or not. And after everything is done, we just run install then, which essentially what it does, it just loops over all the packages that has been downloaded and that they are available under the download folder in the temp download, temp package, I'm sorry. And then it just mounts the certain package to the exact folder where it has been downloaded to. Then it copies everything from user local and everything from user local to user local system-wide in here. Then it just unmounts the package, and that's it. So once everything has been mounted, copied, and unmounted, we are done. We have the packages installed. But it's not that easy, yeah, because just installing package might not be enough. And if we just try to install all the dependencies needed for the Xserver, that's not yet like sort of it, because there should be some additional adjustments being done, because otherwise this is not going to work. And I spent for about 3 days to figure out how to do things properly. So anyway, this is the major tool. So DiPi, Distro independent package installer. And now I want to do the following. So we already have Git here because we've just installed Git. I say git clone and https and github.com and my username. Okay. And monkey see, monkey do, Linux. This is very strange. Oh, well, that's because I'm in the root. Okay. Yeah, I was in the root, so I couldn't do it there, obviously. Yeah, should clone this to the user directory, home msmd. That's the user directory. That's where I'm downloading things. Okay, so yeah, it takes time. But yeah. Once it is done, I'll introduce another script that currently is under development. I will probably make it a part of the ISO itself later, so that user won't need to download things manually and run things manually. But since I'm now debugging things, I just have the proof of concept, the running of the X server with the window manager. That's the reason why I didn't yet make this script that will now introduce the part of the ISO. But once done, that would be the part probably. Okay. Yeah, I just have a poor internet connection here. Yeah. That's the reason why it takes so long to download things. Okay, so now we have the MSMT Linux being git clone. So I'm going to monkey to Linux and the X folder. And here we have the script called install X. We have another packages list here. And if I list this packages in particular, I can do this by saying cat packages. So these are the packages that are required for the X server to run. So the essential ones are the Xfbdev, which is the tiny X server using the xvisa frame buffer. The one that runs nicely under the QEMU emulator and also on the real hardware, because with Xorg it's not that simple really. But Xfbdev works just fine for now. That's the Technical Linux brand specific thing that they are developing. Puppy Linux guys probably also developing somewhat a similar thing. At least I've been reading something about this on the Technical Linux forum, if I'm not mistaken. Then the JWM is Joe's stands for Joe's window manager. So like Atom, Bzip2, FLTK, and GWM, Joe's window manager. So there was a guy, Joe, hopefully he's still alive. Yeah, it's writing the window manager, quite a nice one. There is the default manager for Technical Linux is FLWM, but I like JWM better. And FLTK is the toolkit for to make things rendered properly. It's very very from the old days, but I really enjoy that retro look. And the rest of leapx stuff is all the dependencies that are needed to make sure that everything is working properly. So these are the packages we're supposed to be installing, but that's not yet the end. So if I do vi and install packages, just to give an idea in regards to the particular script that we're supposed to be running just by now. So here is what's going to happen. So first we'll loop over all of the packages under the packages.lst, and we'll use dipy and in the package itself. So we'll install all the packages and the dependencies that are available under the packages.lst. Next thing to do, the way how things are organized under the Technical Linux is the following. So, for instance, when a certain file needs to get some permissions, like the xsession file, for instance, .xsession file that lives under the home username, and then this .xsession, it's hidden by default, it's not seen. So that file is that file contains the information how to properly run the X server and the window manager, all this stuff, how to set up the background if needed, etc. So by default, it would be set to the username, whatever username that is specified under the where is that? At using TC user, that should be somewhere at TC user, or maybe that's no longer relevant. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, probably I removed that already. Yeah, so probably I'll remove that. It works without that anyway. So the idea is that the group under the Technical Linux is called stuff, but on my Linux distribution it's called MSMD. So user MSMD and group MSMD. So I changed the stuff group to MSMD group everywhere under the user local bin, and whatever script shell file can be changed, it gets changed. So that's the matter of permission. Without this, it's just simply not going to work. You won't be able to run the xsession because you would be the wrong, not the wrong user, but the user that belongs to the wrong group. So you would not understand what actually you want. Okay, so then symling. So, this is a bit of an overkill, this line in particular. So probably should be done in a bit more elegant way, just symlinking those libraries that are actually needed. But just to make sure that everything works. So I'm symlinking every single library under the user local lib, so those libraries that would be installed after installing all of these packages here. So I'm just symlinking them to lib, because Xserver, when it runs, it doesn't see some libraries. So just to make sure everything, it sees all the libraries there, I just symlink those libraries. Again, like a bit of an overkill, so probably just a few libraries needs to be symlinked, but I just do things like this just to ensure that everything works properly there. Then we need to create the structure of the folders that TinyCodeLinux understands, because the configurations of the Xserver and the window manager as well, and the way how the entire thing actually works, it relies on the certain structure. Well, var /org is not quite needed if you don't use Xserver, so that's redundant, because I was trying this with Xserver. It didn't yet work well that nicely, so yeah, I'm still debugging it. So I can get rid of this line. So we don't need var log if we don't use the if we don't use the xorg. So there are two types of Xserver available on the TinyCodeLinux: the xorg, which is the cool, like big, cool Xserver, big and like huge really, and the Xfbdev, which is the it's like it supports the VICI frame buffer, and it writes things directly to dev/fb0. So we now see essentially the content of dev fb0 on the screen, because the frame buffer is now running. So instead of having the sectional interface, we'll just render the picture on here. And that's the difference between the Xfbdev and the xorg. So Xfbdev would be rendering directly to where we are currently at, to the frame buffer essentially, while the xorg would be using the more high-level graphic drivers like DRM stuff, or something specific to the particular hardware we're running on. That's the reason why it's really not that easy to manage things under the QEMU, because the options for the QEMU to emulate real graphics are limited. And on the real hardware, well, that's really getting specific to the particular hardware you're having, and you need to make sure that you've installed in the kernel configurations so that you have all the proper things being activated, because otherwise it's just not simply going to work. Like for instance, now I'm having troubles with DRI2 thing. I'm not quite sure what is that, like something graphic specific, and it's not working because, well, the xorg log gives an error that this DRI cannot be loaded because some shared object is missing there. Where to get that is unclear. It's not available. It doesn't seem to be available under the TinyCodeLinux repository. So, well, for now, I'm just working with the Xfbdev, so directly rendering things to the frame buffer, and that is simple and straightforward. So at Skel, this is the skeleton, the folder where the skeleton for the xsession is located. I can show you the skeleton for the xsession. I'll probably do this just in a minute if I don't forget. Then init folder contains the tc functions, which is the helper script that like colors the text to various colors and do some TinyCodeLinux specific stuff. But the only reason we need it here is because there would be the select program that selects the type of the mouse you want to use, and that's the parameter for the Xfbdev to make sure the mouse is working properly, especially if that's the touchpad on the laptop, like in my case. So to make sure everything works nicely, yeah, so we need the tc functions and the select under the bin. That would be copied later. I will show you this. Also, under the sysconfig, we'll have a few essential files, like xserver contains the string what xserver to use, either the xorg or the xfbdev. Also, there would be the desktop thing. I'll show you that when we boot everything. And also we need to make it writable. I don't remember why exactly. Yeah, but for some probably writes there. I don't remember really. Then we set up the Xserver to Xfbdev, and we set in this like to the Xserver file. JWM Joe's window manager has been set to the desktop. Yeah, TC user is actually there. I thought I lost that. No, it's actually there. So TC user is set to monkey see, monkey do, which is the currently available user. So this works nicely. But again, so we only need to change the group, because we can have whatever username, because TinyCodeLinux allows that. But the group is always staff on on Technical Linux, but since I'm using the custom one, I need to change the assignment of the group through under every single file that uses staff and not MSMD. So after this line, all the groups would be changed to MSMD, and that in that case the permissions would be just working nicely. Then we want to add missing files and scripts, so just simply download, like git clone the Technical Linux core scripts, and I copy the tc functions to add init tc functions. I've been just mentioning this already, and user bin and select is the tool to select the mouse. Actually, can select not only the mouse but whatever. But anyway, and it gets copied to user bin select, and then we copy xsession. Well, I promised to show this xsession skeleton. So we copy the file that just exists here in the repo, which is called xsession, to the xsession skeleton, and the set background script, which sets the background to its own color. And after this, we are ready to, so here I automatically run the xsetup. Once xsetup is done, I then add sudo to the xsession. Well, I'm not sure why it's not there by default. By default in Technical Linux, there is no sudo when running the Xfbdev or Xorg, but they are not working if you run them without the sudo, because they require to open the new virtual terminal. And that is not possible without sudo. So maybe Technical Linux has the permissions to open the virtual terminals for the user. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. But anyway, so here I just add sudo here. And also, last but not least, I need to create devpts and mount the devpts temporary file system. That this is the terminal-like devices that the graphical terminal is using to create a new session. So when everything is done, after this script is done, we can then run startx, and we will go into the graphical environment. So I just go away from here, okay, and let me quickly show you the xsession here. So here we have the by the way, it's still in the template it's still xorg, but it would then be changed by the Xfbdev. Yeah, that's the old one. It still works, however. Cool. I should write xv here, not Xfbdev, but yeah, anyway. Then this the resolution, well, this is probably specific to Xorg, not to the Xfbdev. I still need to make a bit of research here. Well, mouse, well, this line, well, actually, the entire first line, if you have a look at the startx script, you will see that this entire line will actually get replaced. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure yet how in particular that works. So I'll show you the eventual version of the of this particular xsession when it creates the new one from scratch after all the configuration, after the setup. And then, yeah, so if Xserver doesn't start, then we just fire the error and exit. Then whatever desktop, and essentially desktop means like a window manager, whatever window manager is there. In our case, there will be the JWM. So error is redirected to temwm errors, and it also exports the window manager PID. Yeah, these PIDs are really useful because if you want, say, to kill both the Xserver and the window manager, go back to where we are now, to the console mode, you can just kill these two processes, which are the numbers essentially, and you just go back to the console. There is the graphical utility to do that, but that's Technical Linux specific, which I don't quite like because it just, well, I'll show you this later. And also, we want to set background. If the set background is, if the script is available, well, most config is not available under the home, so I'm not quite sure. So that's I've grabbed this from my early configurations when I was running Technical Linux back in the day, a long time ago. This is for W bar if available, but yeah, since we don't have the W bar, I just don't like W bar. So this is not relevant. Yeah, I probably should clean up this significantly because don't quite need this a whole lot of things. So probably need to clean this out as well. And finally, setting up the terminus font, which looks quite cool, and rehash to get things updated. Okay, guys, so enough words. Now it takes time to install everything, but yeah, it's really interesting to watch that happening. So I just run the install X shell, and it starts by downloading the whole lot of dependencies, really, really, really lots of dependencies. And well, interestingly, again, the reason why I'm so proud with my distro independent package installer is because it's capable of accurately downloading all the dependencies available there, like all the files, literally everything, so that not a single library would be missing after. And that's really satisfying when you're writing such a little tiny little piece of code that works like a charm and that does the job so nicely. Yeah. Well, by the time it's loading, I can probably mention a few core differences between the distro independent package installer that I've written and the TC load script, which is the Tinical Linux specific script, which essentially does the same thing. But so you've seen that I had the specific adjustments, like to create the infrastructure for the Technical Linux infrastructure for the sysconfig folder under the ads with the Xserver Desktop and other essential files for files essential for the Xserver to actually run. So that is done not in the distro independent package installer, but in the separate script, as well as when I was initially installing the when I've been running the install packages, which was initially run by just to obtain the CRL, Git, CO certificates, and some system utilities. And you remember there was the Python entry. So if you want to download Python, if you just download Python from Technical Linux repository, just gets the files archive. Then you need to extract files from that archive and copy them to the proper location. So that's the extra step. So not all the packages can be installed the standard way. So there are some packages that cannot be installed the standard way. I don't know whether the TC load actually handles that automatically. Probably does, because with the TC load, whatever package you install, it gets installed and it works after. And even if you try to install the Xserver, either Xorg or Xfbdev with the TC load, it would automatically create or alter the files at sysconfig, Xserver at sysconfig desktop. So all those files would be updated with the new values. So let's say you had the Xfbdev running and you want to install Xorg because you want to use some another different window manager that doesn't work with Xfbdev. Most do, but probably maybe IceWM, for instance, it's not working. Maybe it works with Xfbdev. I didn't yet test this, by the way. It's interesting to figure out. But it has the Xorg as a dependency. So when you're downloading Xorg via the TC load on Technical Linux, either directly or if the Xorg is a dependency for somewhat a different package, it would then automatically overwrite the sysconfig Xserver file with the value of Xorg, replacing the Xfbdev previously occupying that position. So yeah, many things to be managed by the TC load, but what I really like about that is that you cannot use TC load outside of the Tinical Linux, while DiPy distro independent package install, hence the name, you can use it outside of Tinical Linux and Monkey C, Monkey do Linux. You can use it even on Linux Mint, like I tried. So you can just install package from the Tinical Linux repository to Linux Mint, and it would be working. So that's really cool. Okay, and by the time I've been talking here, we are already done with downloading all the packages. So it asks me to select the mouse. So I use one, and this is perfectly compatible with my laptop's touchpad. Although now I'm running this under the QEMU emulator, but on the real hardware, that also works nicely. All right, so Now let me show you the newly updated xsession. So we just cd to the home directory, home monkey see monkey do, and ls-a. So it has created the background script, which wasn't there earlier. Let me show you what is in there. Cat. Oh, it's not background, it's set background. So it just sets the background color to black, and yeah, then it tries to run the W bar, but we don't have W bar. So yeah, lots of cleanups is still needed in this system because yeah, it's just a proof of concept, just to show that it actually works. But the next step is just to clean up everything so that I get rid of the redundant things that are not specific to that are specific to TinyCon Linux that have nothing to do with monkey see monkey do Linux. Okay, then let's get the xsession. And here you see like the first line has been changed, so we have appended sudo in front of Xfbdev, and then the mouse, no listen TCP, all the stuff, redirecting errors to std out this time, and the last end symbol means that it's going to be running in the background, meanwhile exporting the xpad as the environmental variable, waiting for Xserver to start. If it fails, give a message and exit. Then running the desktop, and yeah, and then running the set background. Mouse config is not working, is not needed. Yeah, and yeah, did it create the XD folder? Probably didn't. Well, okay, so yeah, still need to make a research because I don't understand everything here on my own yet. But here is the moment of truth. So let's just start. Let's call this startx. I just probably one last thing to show you is user local bin and startx. So this is the script that we will run. So if it would create the x authority file if not there, then it would do this, I don't know, some magical cookie. I have no idea what the hell is that, to be very honest, but it's somehow required by the Xserver. Then the essential step is to export the display environmental variable, because all the GUI applications require the display variable to get an idea which display to use for. Well, it's not rendering directly. Obviously, the Xserver is rendering things, and the GUI application only sends the request to the Xserver to render something on the screen. But display is absolutely essential, like on which display, because there might be several desktops, for instance. Even in this simple Joe's window manager, still might be like a few desktops. Then, if you don't have the desktop environment being set up, this code is supposed to upload the desktop using the TCU load, but we never get here, so we don't care that we don't have the TCU load script, which is used here, because yeah, we never get here because we. Obviously, we do have the sysconfig desktop being equal to JWM in our case. So we just run the setup desktop, which is another shell script to set up the desktop, like all the configuration files for the JWM in this case. And then if we have the xsession, then we just fetch the we create the Xserver. I'm not quite sure why they use this X setup again, and I'm not quite sure. So if there is, so I guess the way gets in here if there is the xsession, or hold on a sec, minus s. Maybe if it's missing, maybe I don't know. I don't remember. Yeah, probably it should be here actually. Yeah, it should actually be here. Okay, don't ask me. I'm not quite that clear with this setup script yet. Anyway. So anyway, let's just run it and enjoy the graphical environment. So I say startx, and yeah, here we go. Oh, it didn't. It did even provide the bar here, the JWM specific bar, which is cool. So we can run the terminal in this easy way. Okay, we can click, and we can also run the terminal like this. Okay, so the active window is colored properly. Cool. We have some legacy from Tiny Linux. Like for instance, the apps is the application browser, but since we don't have the Tiny Linux scripts to load things, because they assume that you're running the init ramifs. That this means that if you want to store the changes, it uses the specific backup scripts that creates the archive by snapshotting the init ramifs entirely. So we don't need this on Monkey See Monkey Do Linux because Monkey See Monkey Do Linux installs just like a regular Linux distribution, so everything just gets stored. Well, now we are in the ISO territory, so it's not going to get stored. But anyway, so yeah, it's asking me for the mirror. Now I don't want this because I just don't have the specific scripts for that. So all things that I don't use, I want to remove them. Okay, control panel. Yeah, let's set the wallpaper to somewhat brighter because yeah, I just don't know how to do this about the configuration. So let's make it something from green to no. Let's make it cool. Let's make it from red to the purple, for instance. And here. Okay, come on. I need to set up the Let's do the horizontal gradient. And here, let's do the purple thing like this. Okay, and done. Okay, so well, cool, isn't it? Yeah. Mount tool is now working. Well, who uses graphical mount tools? You just use mount command. That's it. Mouse tool is interesting. So you can adjust the mouse speed and like do something with left right buttons, which is cool. So this probably can be kept. Terminal server is trying to run Xterm, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and since it's not there, it's not working. Network, yeah, you can set up the this one is quite useful. Yeah, this one is quite useful. Backup restore. Well, this is the Tiny specific stuff that we don't really care much about. So yeah, just don't need this extra terminal, or I can move it. I can move it here. So I'm now using my touchpad, and I can use my touchpad exactly the same way when I'm on the real hardware, not on the emulator. Okay, system tools editor. Yeah, it has the built-in GUI text editor. So yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, just supports the Control-C, Control-V, and all the regular key bindings. It's really likely to. It's really like Notepad on the Windows. Really similar sort of application. Yes, don't save. What else we have here? Run program. Yeah, we can just run a program. We do a term. That's another way to open the terminal. But we can kill the X window, which is cool. So let me just, for instance, you can even do the screenshot, believe it or not. So if I just do the screenshot, probably not under this. Yeah. Oh, it actually does. Yeah, it's not always working well from the GUI, but if you just use the screenshot shell script, that works quite likely. Yeah, we cannot watch this because we don't have the program to watch PNG. At least I don't know any. And yeah, setting up desktop would be a good idea if only the configuration of the JWM wasn't overridden by the TinyCore, which uses the sad background. So yeah, it's really like it's bare skeleton, so not pretty much anything still here. So I need to do a whole lot of things to make sure everything works. So yeah, exit program. So here, well, again, this is the TinyCore specific, which offers to make the backup, but we cannot do backup here. Well, first of all, because we don't have the specific script. Secondly, because the architecture of Monkey See Monkey Do Linux doesn't need to do any backups because it just leaves on the hard drive and everything gets stored. So it's not the any ramifs distribution like the Tiny Linux. So we don't quite need this. So to use this, we can just use none and then exit to prompt, and we will exit to prompt. I just don't want to do this for now. Okay, what else do we have here? Maybe we have something interesting in the control panel still. We have something in services. No services, but probably we can do. Oh, maybe that's something run by the start stop service. I don't know. Just want to show you the xkill, which is one of my favorite tools. So if I do xkill, and I just can kill this window, and that's it. So say it hands or something, just kill that window, and that's it. That's cool. System stats. Oh, we have the system stats. What a fantastic thing. What a fantastic thing. Yeah, we can probably do, yeah, so go in the full screen, not go in the full screen. This is so cool. So let's do the CPU. Well, that's just the logs from the sys or proc. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, so that's just from the. You can see this under the terminal. They just made this fancy thing. Oh, now working. That's the output essentially of the ifconfig plus the resolve.conf file content with the DNS resolve. So all those have been configuring manually. Modules. We don't have any modules because I bundle everything into the kernel, so modules are not the case. Yeah, the processes, which is quite cool. The message, kernel message. Well, this one is really useful. So it's really useful for debugging if you say want to see like why something didn't work properly. Then the message is good. Well, essentially, just duplicating things that can be done by. It all can be done via the command line. Mounts, yeah, we don't probably. Yeah, we have. It just shows the mounts that we did on like these tempfs stuff. File systems. Not quite sure what is this. It's probably some emulated stuff. I'm not sure. Boot. Yeah, this is the kernel that is used. Cool. Installed. Well, it's interesting. Why it's still mentions those things installed? It shouldn't be the case because, well, maybe I don't know. This is a bit of a mystery to me. Big home files. I don't know what is this. Yeah, so it's quite cool. But again, all this is TinyCore specific software. It mentions TinyCore everywhere. So yeah, I would probably just get rid of them because I would either provide my own or I don't know, just didn't yet take a decision apparently. But yeah, anyway, yeah. So we can switch the windows like this. Yeah, this is so cool. Yeah, this is so cool. Yeah, these are the another desktops that are available. Yeah, and yeah, we can probably even send the send to the desktop 2, for instance. So yeah, I can have this one in here. Well, so cool, so amazing. Yeah, so amazing. Yeah, now the desktops here. Well, okay, guys. Yeah, I just I don't know. I really like playing with this stuff, and configuring this stuff is even more interesting, to be honest. Yeah, because you imagine that's how your very own customly built Linux distribution gets born. Yeah. So, well, on the one hand, obviously, I'm not going the most hard way possible, but just reusing lots of things. But on the other hand, yeah, I can just do all the configuration. So, like for instance, the contents of this menu can be adjusted as well, so I can get rid of those things that are not necessarily needed. So just to give an answer that the tinkering here is on the cards really. So you can do lots of tinkering with the system. And again, probably when I manage everything, when I update everything, and when I make, I'll probably make a separate ISO where the this graphical desktop is going to be the part and automatically boots when you run the ISO. Probably that's the proper thing to do. By now, that's just the best skeleton, but you can already play around with it. So if you just download the monkey see monkey do Linux ISO from internet and just boot from it via the QEMU, that's the script called run shell that gives the proper configurations. In this case, yeah, you can recreate the steps that I made here, and yeah, essentially, you can have exactly the same result I'm having here. Well, okay, guys, so this is from my side. I hope this video was interesting and useful. Well, at the very least, I was extremely excited doing this and like playing around with this stuff. So yeah, this is it from my side. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Until then, and cheers.